done by Thanksgiving, although I don't know if Steve could chime in. I don't think that's going to happen. And I'm trying to think. We had a board meeting last week, but no new decisions came out of it. Maybe council is still discussing the transgender bathroom issue. And yeah, do you have anything else, Steve? Unless you have anything to add?
Amherst?
So our meeting is Thursday, so nothing needs to discuss at the board meeting except also we are in negotiations with both our support staff as well as our teachers. And I can't really comment on what we're done with that.
Mount Vernon, John?
Last week we had our regular meeting. We had our first look at the budget. That consumed most of the meeting. Other than that, nothing of any great significance, just going into budget season and looking forward to this meeting.
Okay, I'll ask if there's anybody from the public that wishes to comment. Seeing none, go on to the consent agenda. The only thing on the consent agenda is the October 27th minutes. Do I have a motion to accept those, or does somebody want to pull them?
Move to accept. Second.
Steve moved to accept. Jim, second. Go on to presentations, reports. Oh. Sorry, vote. All in favor? Unanimous. All right, now we'll go on to reports, presentations. Who's going to do that?
The first quarter report
Yeah.
you have in your packet. As I mentioned during the budget presentation, we're anticipating a deficit in the current year. Unlike the school district budgets, the SAU is able to retain a fund balance, so we are projecting retaining some fund balance at the end of this year to cover the deficit. And that's it for the first quarter report.
All right. Any questions for him? For that?
So how does that work, the fund balances for the previous year? Is that how that works?
Yeah.
And how long can you accumulate that?
Ad infinitum. Typically, the SAU board has taken all of what's left and rolled it in to immediately offset the tax rate for the ensuing school year. And so what we're saying is at the end of this fiscal year, instead of using all of those funds to offset the next year's tax rate, we'll have to keep some and use it to offset a deficit.
Okay. Go on to the first draft of the SAU-39 budget.
Yeah, no updates from the previous meeting. We're planning on addressing this on the 22nd. We will have the SAU budget study committee. Is that what it's called? SAU, yeah. I don't know exactly what you folks call it, but we will have that advisory finance committee.
It's
just a budget committee.
We don't really know what we call it.
I don't feel so bad. So that group of people that will be reviewing the SAU budget will be getting together as soon as I can get those folks together, and we'll have their recommendations, if any, for you at the 22nd meeting in December.
Do you know who's on this committee?
No, I don't. I think you folks need to appoint 2 members of this board. Is that right? Or is it?
Just 2. And we are waiting for a chair to be appointed with the committee for an additional member to
So is it a member of each school board and then a member of each advisory budget or ways and means or whatever? So is it 6 members? Is that how it works?
It's one hand, 6 members, 1 from each Ways and Means / Advisory Finance Committee, and then 1 member appointed by each board from their public. So, Mount Vernon School Board will appoint some random person. Sauhegan will appoint some random person, and Amherst will appoint some random person.
Got it.
And Steve, do you know, does the board contact each one of the chairs and have them do that?
Well, the chairs appoint someone from their own individual board. So there's someone that the advisory finance committee rises up, and then but then each board has to make some decisions as well. Typically, it's fallen on the chairman to go out and meet the bushes to find somebody.
So I know for our board, Dave recommended somebody who will be appointing, and Lisa Eastland, I believe, who's the chair of our advisory finance committee, they have somebody already that's from Sahegan's advisory finance committee to be on.
Okay,
So we should be set.
great. That's it for budget.
So are you making contact with the minutes of the meeting, or are we supposed to do that, or how? Who's got the ball here?
Well, every individual board, as I'm understanding, has to appoint their member of the public.
Yeah, we've done that.
And every,
Who do we tell?
So who do we tell?
Who do we tell
Tell-
workers?
Who calls them?
tell me so I know who they are so I can contact them. So
Okay.
if you, which I believe you've already done.
I think so, yeah.
He sent an email.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure you were on. I think it was right during our meeting, actually.
Yeah, anybody can?
So typically, the business office would take care of that. So we find the names, we get the names, Adam gets all the names, and we have one of our executive assistants or assistant administrative assistants contact people, set up the meetings with Adam or myself or others.
Is this should align with, like with the Sahegan, we always have the budget committee. This should align with that anyway, right?
The line meeting,
They should be talking with them and I guess it wouldn't necessarily have to.
They actually don't really.
Yeah.
It's a different animal.
yeah. So this time frame between now and the 22nd, we'll be meeting with them. They'll go through, just like you have finance committees go through all of your stuff in sections. They'll do the same with us. They'll come back with recommendations on the 22nd of December. That's our next meeting.
We need to vote then, correct?
You will need to vote them, yes.
Before December, on or before December 31st.
There was a question about the cost of living adjustment. We talked about redeeming it, but we also talked about different options. But so I saw you sent an email on that. Don't you need an answer on that before the 22nd, or are we going to make the decision on the 22nd and vote on the budget on the 22nd?
It's my assumption we'll make that decision on the 22nd.
So we'll receive recommendations. We'll recommend a increase or not, and then we'll vote on that without seeing the final draft, but based on the adjustments that we made in that meeting, correct?
And I'll be able to tell you what the bottom line checks out.
It only will impact two lines of the budget, will be the pool and the pools, not spread out over a bunch of individual lines.
I was thinking more about the recommendations that we have.
We are open to any discussion or questions you might have tonight, or recommendations for that.
Who's got that? Who's got control of that computer?
I don't.
Yeah, it's like,
Think you can keep going.
discussion item. What was that for?
There's nothing there. That's not-
Go on to the informational items, the facility quarterly update.
Included in your packet was John Robichaud gave an update of all the facility-related tasks that have been accomplished in the first quarter for the fiscal year. So you'll be seeing more and more of that from various departments on the business side, updating you about what has been done and what we're doing. So it should be included as just a listing for you to give you a sense of some of the projects that have been taken care of.
Question. So what is the facility survey?
Let me see. You surveyed to see what was the status of the facilities.
Yeah, this is, what I like about this report is it's clear and easy to read. What's frustrating about this report is 3 bullets.
And no money,
Lax.
and no money.
Detail.
Spare bullets.
What's that?
Spare bullets.
Yeah.
Sparse goals.
You'll see in the individual school district more details because the SAU is really the big school.
Yeah. Okay.
Well, Steve and I know about the cost of these things because we did the manifest, but it might be a good idea to put it in these reports like that so that at least everybody else knows what the cost is.
Yeah.
Any other questions on that? Okay. We got action items, policies for the SAU-39 Board review. Go ahead.
So these were those 5 policies listed right there. Those were the same ones that we brought forth last month, just due to the timing, the updates that we had made and the edits that we made didn't make it into the packet, so did check and everything from there. So all these policies will be going towards in the coming months. And then the last one, curriculum adoption, we're putting in for review and input, right?
Yeah, I think, and so you might see seeking your board input. So that's a policy that the board is going to, the policy committee is going to look at, and instead of just having the group of the board members on the policy committee take a look at IGD, and if you have any comments, let Galen know or myself know. We are meeting twice a month. It's a very, very energized group. We have a lot of work to do. My goal is to get through all the required policies by the end of the year. Or, like I said to the group, we will have to work during the summer to get those done. And we are going, I like to use this word, alacritously as possible. So thank the policy committee.
The AE accountability, you did find out that wasn't required by law one?
It is.
Okay. The one thing that we're doing is we're trying to concentrate on the ones that are required by law that we need to get out faster than the other ones.
And we're in the B's, and we expect to be in the L's.
And one of the other ones that we looked at that we're starting to look at is policy BEDH, I think it is. It's the public time communication from the public during the board's meetings. We just started looking at it, so we'll bring that one to the board too.
IGD, the curriculum adoption, I believe it's Amherst policy, and Sardinia does not have this policy, and Mount Vernon does. So this is one of those where we want to have it consistent as possible, at least how it works.
Any other questions on policy? All right.
Are there separate policies for each school in addition to the ones that are here? I've never seen.
Originally, what it was each district had their own set of policies. And many years ago, we started to align all the policies together so that if they were the same policy, the only thing that should be changed on the policy was the district name, but they would be basically the same policy. And with the exception of some policies for Sahegan, because they're dealing with things that the other schools districts don't have to deal with, they're pretty much aligning up.
So the Sahegan, just a question to follow up on that. Does Sahegan have a separate curriculum adoption policy?
No.
No.
It was,
Sahegan has none then?
right.
Correct.
Did you guys have a chance at all to talk about the public time policy?
Yeah, so that's the one that we just started.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm
We did
sorry.
start
I
with
was
that today. We did
going
start
with
with
the
the
other policies.
last time, but we didn't get that far.
Okay.
We've already received.
What's that?
We started in it, we follow up.
Okay.
And we have received some input on that.
Yeah, I sent some input to Galen, I think, and I was just wondering when you thought, only because we committed to kind of going back to a community member, because right now it says community members are allowed to talk 5 minutes on every topic, and so.
Yeah.
Hopefully next month.
I would say at the December 22nd meeting, we'd have something for the board to look at.
Any other questions? The January forum?
Yeah, we had talked about doing a public forum for all of the consolidation work and conversation that happened. So I'm going to switch gears a little bit on you and just propose 2 items. One, I really do think we should have one in December. It's a change for my thought. I've talked to a number of people who think that that might be a good idea. So I'm proposing December 12th. And that would be held here, and we'd organize that. So basically all you'd have to do is come and ask questions. And then we'd like to have one in January, or 2 in January. One in January here and one at Mount Vernon. So I'll give you more information as we go along. The only date I have set is that's free for the high school theater is the 12th of December. The week after, you're getting closer to the holidays, so I didn't want to make that change. I think we had agreed originally to just go with January, but a lot of people are feeling it's okay to go out and ask for input and let people know what's going on and get their thoughts. So I'm up for that if you guys are. So December 12th. We'll organize one at that time. 7 p.m.
If we did one in Amherst on the 12th, I mean, it makes sense to do one. Just do one in
Mount Vernon only in January?
No, Mount Vernon in December. We're talking about doing one in Amherst in December and then one in Amherst and Mount Vernon in January. Does it make sense to do one in Amherst and Mount Vernon in December and January if we choose to do it? And that's really, I suppose, more pertinent to the Mount Vernon folks. But
Yeah. We're running out of time and availability and other kinds of things. I can look at that.
So I'm curious, who the people were that really wanted to have one, because I thought, we had a lot of discussion on this last month, and I thought it was not that the board wasn't comfortable until we all were able to have a discussion, going out and getting input and having a forum. I mean, it seemed like that was why the forums were canceled.
Yep.
It was pretty clear, so I'm just curious why that changed.
Again, I think people thought it would be a good idea to have one in December. I'm bringing it to you. I've kind of penciled in December 12th. That's completely up to the board if they think that's a good idea. So there were, I would say, at least 5 or 6 citizens that approached me and asked me, and I'm bringing it to you.
And one of my concerns, the reason I brought it up, one of my concerns is that, sometimes if you bring something to people and ask their opinion, they think it's a done deal. And again, I think that was why it was one of the concerns of this board, that we had a chance to discuss it first and figure out, I read the feedback of the people, the board members that sent feedback to your questions, and it seemed like a lot of the feedback was that we need to come out with a clear understanding of how we're going forward. And I know for me, I put it, I think, even more succinctly as far as, we need to decide whether we are going forward with this proposal in one district, and if not, how we're going to go forward and incorporate the concerns of all the pillars and the recommendations of all the pillars. So, I don't know, it just seemed like that was what all the feedback was. So, and I'm concerned that when you go out and ask people, we just talked about this at community council last week, actually, when you go out and you ask people their opinion on something, it kind of gives the impression that it's, something you're going forward with.
Yeah, I didn't ask Mary. That was more like the conversations that people were talking to.
No, I mean forums. Having forums and asking people input or input.
We would have elements of what the Streamline Committee presented. So probably myself. We would ask people from that committee to talk. we would want to have board members probably to be there to answer some questions. But it's mostly to give them a sense in December or January. You know, they haven't heard a lot about this, and I think just to give them a chance to listen a little bit and to chime in. And I think what, you know, maybe in Mount Vernon, for example, there was a lot of good discussion in Mount Vernon about this whole concept, and people were worried they didn't know enough, didn't have enough answers. But I think if you multiply that by people in the community, they may have questions that we don't have. It's more like seeking information from them rather than saying, we're going this way. I think that's what we were thinking about in January that we would do.
Just something to think about. I would be cautious seeking information from the public when the public doesn't have the appropriate context. So I think maybe you're already there, but I just want to make sure that that was clear, because I view these sessions more as this is the exploration that has been done.
Yep.
Here is what we've gleaned, so that people can understand the situation that we're in. And even being exposed to that information on a first pass, people may have to process that before they're even able to provide input.
Yeah,
So
I think people just want information. I've had people ask me why they were canceled as well.
Yeah.
I think people just want.
That was another thing I heard too.
I'd be kind of understanding, getting a little bit of that information out, but in our last meeting, as Mary mentioned, we discussed the need for us to sit down and have this conversation first. And you said yourself just now that, we're short on time to have the December meeting. I think everybody else feels that way too. My calendar is full in December. So many of our calendars are full in December. Why not wait until after the holidays so that we can get a bigger audience rather than, sorry, I can't make it, I've got this Christmas activity, that Christmas, whatever the case may be, so we can get a bigger audience and we have the chance to sit down and have a discussion.
But isn't that part of our purpose of the meeting tonight is kind of get us closer to that? We're not really going to have another workshop like this, so we have more opportunity to get us to that point where we're going to be further ahead than we are right now. Or where will we at tonight?
But we don't even have a conversation. All of this is happening, I feel like we're being asked to make a decision before that, before we would have a discussion, whereas by the end of tonight, we may say, what, we need to make more appointments. We're fighting to make more meetings to answer this more, or we're comfortable. But we're being asked to make a decision before we would know.
So would you be more comfortable if we waited until after that discussion to make a decision?
Yeah.
Can we do that?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I guess I wish I had been able to be in attendance at the SAU-39 Board and the Amherst Board when the presentation was done. Because all I can reflect on is when the presentation was done for the Mount Vernon Board and our discussion on it. And we did have a lot of discussion at that board meeting. We also had our board meeting last week and had a little bit more discussion on it that we didn't have in front of the Streamline Committee. And I guess in getting from a public input standpoint, and I see the getting it out there and getting opinions there, but it's each one of the board's decision whether we are looking to move forward and then put it forth to the voters or the public, unless it was something that was done from a petition basis or something such as that. And the Mount Vernon Board, and John, maybe you can reiterate in closing of our board meeting last week that we were pretty clear that unless there was something very, very specific as part of the plan, that though the board didn't make any votes or any decisions on anything, but that we were not sure how comfortable we were. And that was stating specifically, no ands, ifs, or buts, that the village school in Mount Vernon would never be closed. And I just don't know how that plays in the other boards' thought process or discussion, or even the Streamline Committee, because we didn't have that discussion when the committee was there in front of us. And nor did we come out and clearly state that when they were there the first meeting. But after reflecting on that and having a little bit of general conversation on it at our last board meeting, it was very clear that there were multiple members of the board, John, that felt that that was an accurate statement.
Well, that's in the discussions that we had, the Streamline Committee, over a course of 8 months or so. I think I made it fairly clear very, very early that if there ever was to be an agreement to consolidate, of course that means rewriting the agreement for both towns concerning all the schools. That would definitely have been one of the deal breakers. Would be Mount Vernon would have to have a guarantee that part of the school system, no matter how things get rearranged, always remains in Mount Vernon.
And I just didn't know if the other boards were aware of that, or the Streamline Committee. I mean, because it was pretty.
Well, all boards have representatives on the Streamline Committee, so they should all be aware of it.
I guess my question was more, or my comment was more, we as the board in whole had not had that discussion as a group yet. That was the first time, even though we read the Streamline, we had them present to us, but we as a board hadn't said, geez, that's a deal breaker for us. And unless you're coming forth with some sort of presentation that's included in it, we're not sure where we're moving, if anywhere on that, without that being part of it. So I don't know if that weighs into a time frame for a public forum or more from a feedback to the Streamline Committee. I just thought that because I was unable to attend, whether Amherst had a same stipulation on one of their buildings or something such as that was a pretty big point that was not included in the Streamline's presentation to us, nor did we actually verbally give them that feedback when they were there in front of us.
So I can say from the Sauhegan board, for me anyways, I was not aware of that. It might have just been because you guys just had the discussion, but I was not aware that was a deal breaker.
It was not in the presentation by Streamline. You could read, I read it several times, and it wasn't part of that.
Well, in defense of Streamline, remember, they were talking in generalities, just moving in this direction. That what we were talking about, that's later. That would be much later on. We have to actually draw up an agreement. So what they were presenting you was with the overall argument that we should be looking at this area. What the final product would be, that's when you discuss what the actual deal is going to be between the two towns, and that's much further down the road.
But isn't that after wouldn't that whole discussion happen after the towns voted on whether or not to consolidate?
No, the plan's going to have to be put in front of the towns, the actual agreement. Individual board members don't make those decisions. The decision has to be made townwide.
Well, there's definitely some concerns that I've had that I brought forward and said, well, that can't be answered until the town actually votes on it, because none of that. We're just a committee that decides whether it should, that comes up with the idea. We vote whether to put it on the ballot. After the ballot, in my understanding, legally, none of these answers can happen until after it goes on the ballot and the town votes for it, is my understanding. Because that's definitely something, there's some concerns I've had in there as well that I've been told, well, that can't be answered until after the fact.
Things like contract issues, that can't be answered because you have to negotiate that.
Right.
But there are other answers that can happen before it goes down.
I have that same concern too, is that I know that all the details can be worked out ahead of time, but there are some things like certain boards feel very strongly about, like what Kim was just saying with Mount Vernon. Again, I didn't know that was a deal breaker. I know there are some members of our board that, really want to make sure there are specific things about the Sahihan culture or the non-unionization of our staff that remain in place too. And I think to let the things that are important, and that's really why I phrased my response the way I did, like how do we ensure that all of the important things and great things about each of the districts still remain, whether we consolidate or not, or however we go forward with the strategic plan. And so while it's nice to say the details will be worked out later, I'm not sure how comfortable people are with certain details being worked out later.
I think we should, sorry.
So I just want to say that the two very specific concerns that were just expressed, both boards try to hold on to things that boards don't control. Going in reverse order. So Sahihan staff could vote tomorrow to unionize. There's nothing the board could do to prevent it. Okay, to Kim's comment about what the Mount Vernon board decided, is that a commitment by the Mount Vernon board that there's no enrollment scenario in which they will not take some action to close that school going forward forever?
And I will answer that, Steve. We did have a discussion about that and asked Peter to come back to us as to where is our breaking point, as to what that number is, and how close could we get to single classrooms before we get to the point of looking to tuition our elementary kids someplace else. So we are thinking about that, but I will tell you, it is certainly something from a community standpoint, from my feedback from community members, that is a, before I think, I'm speaking without our whole board having a vote, and we're going to have to do that. But I mean, I'm telling you, Steve, our conversation is that the village school is central to who wants to live in a town that doesn't have a school.
I absolutely understand what you guys said, but I also want to make sure that you've dealt with Sadie.
And we did ask for, we have asked, that was our, in closing in our meeting, specific things, and Peter certainly is nodding his head, where is our breaking point? Where is our cost for facilitating the building? What is our max number that we thought we could get to, and then what is our reduction from a staff standpoint and facilitating the building based on cost? That would be a breaking point for the town. So yes, and that's part of, I think our discussion was putting something forward to the public. We didn't get into details or time frame on it, but based on getting those numbers first as to our breaking point, so that we're looking at not just necessarily what the Streamline Committee is looking at from a consolidation standpoint, but more what's the board looking at as well. I mean, decreasing enrollment, we may not be seeing that like Amherst is seeing that. We still have plenty of subdivisions in town that, we issued 3 new house permits in the last week and a half. That's a lot in a week and a half in Mount Vernon. We may do, 3 a month. And this is getting close to winter too. So for us to still keep doing that, you don't know what the makeup of the, people are, but I'm not sure that based on the predicaments of enrollment that Mount Vernon is going to feel that much. But
I think there's a lot of scenarios that have to be looked at anyway. I think for each district, we have to know what the point is for each district, what numbers are, where do we start to realign. So I think just not this Mount Vernon, I think Amherst and Sahihan.
Yeah, and we did, like I said, we did ask for those numbers to come back because we have some pretty good, we know what our tuition is to the middle school from a per pupil cost, and we can see how it fluctuates, and we also know what our fixed costs are on running our building. So we're able to facilitate those numbers with, we don't think, with too much difficulty.
Maybe after we do our work tonight, maybe we can revisit the idea of having a December 12th public forum.
Absolutely.
Anybody else have anything on this?
Well, just a question, is there December 12th and then another date in January?
We have not picked a date in January.
Talked about having a date in January.
That's correct.
Okay. So we want to take a 5-minute break and get realigned back in our seats.
So the tables are set up with board member from each district or 2. So if you take a look, it should say one of the boards and who you are, and not your name, I'm sorry, but which board. Okay?
Grab something to eat if you have.
Yes.
Good job. I know it's
Back to your phones.
I know. But just have to see this skirting into the outside. Hello, how are you? I'm well, thank you.
The resistance rears its head.
That's right.
The resistance rears its
My
head.
mother taught me very good manners. I have no problem writing somebody's name.
Hey. I was just waiting for the camera to turn away every time before I took a bite.
Take a look at the big picture.
I mean, the reality is, the ground could be a
Could be.
So what are we doing?
And boy, wasn't this going to be better position to deal with?
I think they did a pretty good job, actually. But I expect the next step to be to start them out. And the one that worries me the most is that old Carlton Farm right next to the Holiday. It's an entryway to the town. And it basically defines the separation between Amherst and Mount Vernon. If they just throw in houses in there,
Why not?
there goes a little character.
I often wonder why that house is.
Well, it has been argued. It was Carlton's had been renting it out to one of the guy who works at the DPW. But when Junior took over, he kicked him out.
There's a young girl at senior at my job.
Thursday? Okay.
Yeah.
All right, I'll see you then.
You know, Mark, who works for the DPW, he was renting the place. And he had himself, I think it was his daughter and his grandchildren.
The level of work, cultural.
Well, that place that Mark has now, then, is down the road from there. Who owns that? Because he's just running that too.
That's the other Carlton. This family's been in town forever. And the grandfather bought up all the land during the Depression.
My uncle did out in Iowa. All kinds of land laws, that's what they did.
I'm on that too.
A lot of people who were land rich and money poor were going belly up during the Depression. They sold their land, or the land would be confiscated, and he ends up buying it off the government.
Is that what happened to Sharon? Bought all that stuff up. Now she can't afford it.
Well, that was her father's land. Yeah. Like my mother says, if she knew my father, if he ever saw what happened to his farm, he'd roll over in his grave. He'd be so upset because he took great pride in that property, and now it's just gone south. How can you let a giant barn like that just collapse?
You're supposed to maybe about, we did. That was going to collapse. We hadn't done something with that barn.
But that was such a magnificent building. Just a shame.
Jack's running the same condition from across the fence. All the D1 programs say he's everything we want as a defenseman, and he's 2 or 3 inches too short.
It's a blackboard.
He looks like he's. But when I said David, he's pretty hairy.
I don't talk to him hardly at all. We'll text back and forth, but we'll never talk on the phone. He calls me. I'm surprised he doesn't.
You and your father and stuff. I mean,
relatively short.
The answer is being true.
5'9". But my mother's 5'3", and she has a brother that's like 5'10", 5'9". It's still not short,
Linda's like 5 3/4.
I know.
So the boys don't take out their
I'm not doing
Senior,
my opinion.
seniors
Yeah,
always
that's
have
nice.
their
So
Portrait.
clock, you know, for the fence.
you're only locked into the school.
Very nice.
Senior night, they get the hat,
Academically,
they give it to them.
unless you have a certain
And all the other
schools,
girls
it's tough to choose
sign the
what you want
back
to
and
study.
write stuff back.
Well, that's the same age. You want little pictures or something.
We all set? So I want to begin this evening. First of all, thanks to my colleagues to my left for helping organize this meeting tonight. I'm in a lucky place when I have 3 people of skills that these people have, so thank them. You may recall from the items that I sent you, here's the reason I did that. So I sent you a kind of an outline of some things that some of you probably looked at and said, oh, I remember that document. Yep, that makes sense. A lot of it about strategic planning. I started with Mary Jennings, the former superintendent's letter about consolidation that a lot of people hadn't seen. I went through and if you remember, some of you, my first year, 6 years ago, the board asked me for 4 things. They set up 4 goals for me to accomplish, and you saw those. So a lot to do with we need to have a curriculum in our schools. We need to communicate better with our folks in our towns and our buildings. We need to plan better transitions, for sure, as we go forward. And we need to have a curriculum that we can be proud of and that is across our district. So those were the 4 goals from 2011 to 2013. 2013, we started talking about strategic planning. We moved forward. 17 members of the board got together many nights, many long nights. And I remember one of the last meetings in A222 here where the windows were covered with sheets of paper and we're trying to decide on language and everything else that was going on. So I want to thank you all if you were part of that for that. From there, you got to see some other things that I sent you all the way up to this date. The reason I did that was because in order, any strategic planning or kind of a refresh of that planning, you want to look back a little bit. There are also 6 or 7 of the board members that weren't there during that particular session, so to give them a starting point to kind of take a look at things as we are now. Okay. This is an important juncture for us tonight We've been talking about consolidation. There's a lot of things going on in each of our districts. It's good that we're together. I think some of the really good work that the 17 members did, I want to transfer that to tonight. There was a lot of energy every time. I think Joe Miller, the first time as a facilitator, said, my gosh, they're ready to do this work. And I said, oh yeah, they're ready. We have some important work to do tonight. I did mention to you in an email that when I sent you a letter about tonight, I looked over all of the questions and concerns that were mentioned to me, and I listened to those, and I thought about those, and we tried to, the four of us tried to incorporate a lot of the answers in those questions for tonight's activities. There are a couple I still have to maybe talk to individual board members about, but we wanted to hit as many of those things as possible, okay? Here are the goals that we came up with for tonight. I'm hoping that these fit into what you were thinking for tonight. I think we'll be successful, all of us together, if we can come to an agreement and understanding on all of these this evening. We'll try and get you home before Jay Leno. Jay Leno isn't even on TV anymore, is he? Who would we watch at 11:30 at night? Jimmy Fallon. Okay. So, yes, you'll be home before that.
While you're at it.
Johnny Carson.
I miss Johnny Carson.
Probably more like Jack Parr. Howard, you don't know that. So gain a deeper understanding of where each of the strategic works are in their work. Very soon you'll be seeing some software that we purchased that will really help us go through that. Christine's going to do a little bit of that. Prioritize our work ahead. We'll be talking about that tonight. Creating a vision. We have a video we want you to watch. We want to talk about vision, mission, core beliefs, maybe purpose, which is the new word out there in businesses. Creating mission and visions are going away. They're looking at purpose. And we also want to talk about develop a target SWOT analysis of where we're going. Okay? Questions? Christine, would you show that?
So this is the new program we're going to be using to track all of our pillars and all of the strategies and initiatives for each of the pillar groups for our strategic plan. So we've just started working on the advanced committee, so I started adding to this, and this is really software that helps us to actually track each one of the strategies, determine who's assigned to that strategy or initiative, how long it will take, so you actually set dates on it, and then whether it's complete, actually track what percentage complete it is. So this is our initiative on full day kindergarten, so you can see how we have a lot done already on full day kindergarten. But then as we get farther down, there are pieces in Mount Vernon. We've just started implementing some changes to the first grade curriculum after we've had our full day kindergarten for 1 year in Mount Vernon, starting our second year. And we're implementing full day K in Amherst. And since we're only about 2.5 or 3 months in, we're only partially through that strategy, that initiative or that piece of that initiative. So it really allows us to drill down pretty deeply and really be able to better track where our progress is on each of our strategies and initiatives. And this work, I know the advanced committee did all of this work, but we did it in a spreadsheet. This gives us a little bit better of a visual, and we actually can flag certain things. We can attach, we can put comments in here, we can attach files and so on. With this. So we plan on rolling this out with all of our pillars to really help us to track where we are in our work. So with Advance, as I mentioned, our update, we're implementing full day kindergarten in Amherst. It's going really well so far, and we're starting to collect data. In Mount Vernon, we're in our second year of implementation of full day kindergarten, and we're really looking at first grade and some of those changes we needed to make to first grade to ensure a smooth transition, and that we've increased the rigor in first grade to accommodate for those students who are coming in with a full day K experience. On to a few other initiatives. PACE is a big piece of advance. And this year we're really excited because Clark Wilkins and Mount Vernon are actually holding all of their late starts together this year. And most of those late starts are centered around our piecework on performance assessment. And we've developed a year-long plan to support them in their work. And we were able to roll that plan out to staff, which that was the feedback we received from AMS last year, that staff really like to see the big picture and to have that year in a view. So we did that for both Clark Wilkins and Mount Vernon again this year. So that's an update on PACE. And we're continuing our work at SAU-39 with PACE as well. And with STEM, STEM is another one of the initiatives on advance, and I do have a lot of these, but I know it's kind of hard to read. So it does go down in our PACE updates and where we are with that work. Another one of our initiatives is on STEM and implementing new science standards, and this summer we developed new science curriculum for grades 5 through 8, so we're just starting to implement that this year. So questions on advance? I know that was a really quick update. Jim?
With STEM, how are we integrating across all 3 schools? Like, where is that?
With new science curriculum or with STEM in general?
Well, I mean, relative to how it fits within the context of the strategic plan. So I think we wanted, in STEM with advance, we were looking at, fully integrated, we're looking at everything fully integrated STEM curriculum, K through 12. So I guess my question is, like,
where are we?
Because my understanding is where we are, we're kind of in a little bit of isolation,
right,
across all of the schools.
So the first step in our plan, which once we have all of, once all of our pillars have Smart Sheet filled out, it's going to be a little bit easier for us to look and even look within a pillar and across our pillars. But with our science work, we actually felt really strongly that we needed to start and first transition to our new science standards. And actually just last week, I think it was, the New Hampshire State Board actually approved the Next Generation Science Standards. So we did already start working with those science standards. We were told that the approval was in process, and we as a district decided to use those as a guide when we developed our curriculum. So this summer we did pretty deep work, which we'll be presenting on that in a month to Amherst, and also to Mount Vernon as well. We felt the first step in moving towards a fully integrated STEM curriculum is actually looking at the science standards, getting caught up and making the transition to those new standards, and then looking at that integration and that bigger picture. So we felt like that increase in rigor and the change that we had to make to align to the new standards was that first step. So it's a little bit slow because we have to take that step first since we have new science standards. And then we have also been looking at points of intersection though. So for example, innovation and design did a little work during our in-service days with our science teachers. The health teacher has pushed in and done a little work with science teachers, but we haven't started making some of those connections even with, art, for example. Math, we made some connections last year with our performance assessment work, but they are a little isolated right now. So it certainly is the work ahead, but we felt like starting with the shift to the new standards was an important first step.
Does anybody else from advance on the advance subcommittee have any follow-up questions regarding that?
In some ways, I'm reluctant to say that we've gotten as far as we wanted to. I mean, for example, we don't really have a vision statement of what we're trying to achieve. And so, I mean, there's a lot of work left to be done. I think some of the tasks that you have there are not fully complete. I think we have a lot of work to do, actually. But I was hoping that we would have this meeting here and make some concrete decisions on how we want to move forward with the whole strategic plan, and then I was going to call a meeting and we're going to move on to that. But I'm not happy with where we are at right now, actually.
So I think that is the intent of our meeting tonight. We felt like it was really important for you to first be grounded in what work have we accomplished, then look at creating, developing a vision for the work ahead, and then that vision can be pushed out into each pillar group to then move forward with their work and really examine their plan. And you know, Jim and Dave, you might come back to the advance committee and say, hey, like, let's step this piece up, and maybe we need to back off this other piece a little bit, because we've, you know, our vision might focus more, say, on STEM, and we might need to look deeper at that and look at our plan moving forward. So I think it's certainly a starting point for our work.
I would also say that as we go through this, so this is the technology we're going to use with the other pillars as well. But one of the things I mentioned earlier was about the work that you guys did as an SAU board. What we haven't done is we've kind of separated the pillars, and one pillar doesn't know what the other one's doing or not doing, right? So what I'm going to talk to you about, or would like you to consider, is that part of the work at the SAU board, probably every other meeting, would be just to look at, okay, here's a smart sheet for each one of them, really have an idea of where everybody is, and you can chime into even another pillar, for example. I think they've been separated too much, and that's probably why some of them, not the only reason, but why they've dropped off something sometimes. So I'm thinking that might be a better trend for us to look at those together as an SAU board and ask questions and have all of the board members understanding where we are in each of our pillars.
Yeah, I mean, I think the issue for me is that, I mean, there's a lot of work that you've done, and it's been good work in kindergarten and everything else. So I think that's important to say. One of the things that concerns me is that most of the tasks that are assigned to Christine alone, which shows that there's a bottleneck in terms of the capacity to get things done. So, but it also speaks to my questions around STEM, which are, I don't know enough about the next gen science standards, you know, and I feel like it's incumbent upon me to understand what those are. And so I can't say that I support what we're doing or not support what we're doing, because I tend to think of things, you have long-term goals and you have short-term goals. And a lot of times those things run in parallel. So getting aligned to the long-term science standards, I think, are important. That's a long-term goal. But at the same time, you know, like one of the things we did in the middle school is we turned the, you know, what used to be called like the industrial arts wing into a STEM wing. We got a maker space in there. That was a quick win, so that the community can see that we're fully invested in STEM. We didn't have to be aligned to the next gen science standards in order to do that. So to understand how that's working across all three schools. How's that working in Mount Vernon? How's that working in South Egan? You know, I mean, just with a kid in South Egan, I know there are classes in science that he cannot take. We just don't have them. So it's that type of, we're lacking that type of, and maybe this isn't the right context to have this discussion, but we're lacking that picture.
And, you know, another challenge, too, I think, you know, Sue Downer really needs to be invited to who's the department chair here at South Egan for Science, invited to our advanced pillar to help us with our timeline. And Bethany is actually, you know, kind of the lead for advanced for STEM. But I think, you know, Bethany and I definitely need to sit down and look at that timeline and where we are. I didn't put it up on Smartsheet yet, the STEM piece, just because I feel like we've been a little bit in flux with that, and really we need to revisit that and look deeply at where we are with that progression in our work. But at the Amherst board meeting, when we come with a new science curriculum, we can share more about the next generation science standards at that point, and then share the curriculum with you so you can see what it looks like, and we can talk to you about those changes. So it's definitely an important piece.
And I just wanted to mention, I know, like at South Egan, I did ask one of these questions of Christine, met with her a couple times, and with Rob, and I remember the article you gave me, who it was by, but there was an article on
And I can
what
share
the
it out
title
the whole
is,
board.
science standards, but it was on what should a high school have in a STEM program, and we actually had, you know, basically checked off every box that they suggested a public high school have for STEM. And I throw public in there, I'm not really sure they use the term public, but I say public only because obviously we're a public high school.
it was Hanover Research, actually did an article on K-12 STEM, and there were a few things actually. The STEM presentation we did for the SAU-39 Board could be really interesting to even share out with others. Oh. We can try starting again.
Crashed up.
So that might be really helpful too, and I can pull in some of that when I present to the Amherst and to the Mount Vernon Board on science, because I think that might be really helpful.
And Jim, I agree. I think look in the long-term and the short-term aspect of it, but I think the adaptation of the new curriculum is getting you at least focused towards the longer term to be able to set the goals for that. I mean, we discussed science at our last board meeting after we had from a math presentation, and when we looked over what the policy was, for doing curriculum. And our next question is, when are we rolling out? What are we saying next? And so we knew that was coming anyway. But I think, we have the little steps of that by, adopting the curriculum and starting to. But I get your point. It's not looking farther reaching.
And I think an important piece is that all of these are not isolated. We're isolating for the strategic plan to be able to report out on STEM. But so much of the performance assessment work that we're doing is leading us down that path as well and supporting STEM in that more integrated approach. So the performance assessment work we did last year at AMS and we're starting this year at Clark Wilkins and at Mount Vernon. Whenever you do when you create a performance assessment, it often involves multiple content areas. Last year we had both math and science working together and creating one performance assessment across both content areas. So that's a point of intersection and integration. So we're really looking at how can we look, kind of to your point, start making those shifts and changes in the content that we're actually teaching and making sure that we're ratcheting up the rigor and the application of the skill, but then also making little points of intersection to kind of start to bring things together. But we definitely have a lot of room.
So, Jim, and I don't know if you're saying this too, but as Christine's talking, I was listening to you, I wonder if this has helped me, I wonder if having more presentations about where we are with different curriculums would help because, like you said, you're not an expert, I'm not an expert, and we don't always even know where to look, let alone maybe we don't have time to read all of it, whereas Christine, knows it or has it at her fingertips. Maybe what we really need is just more updates more often, because then we would maybe know better the questions to ask and what we might be lacking if we get more updates. I don't know if you feel that way, but I kind of feel like I don't know everything about curriculum, so unless I ask for more updates or meet with her personally, I don't know the questions to ask even.
Yeah, I don't know. I have to think about what you said there. I'm having a hard time articulating what's in my head, but what's in my head more is like what I always say, which I feel like I fail in getting this point across, which is I don't know how what you're doing matches to what we want the desired outcome to be.
It is one step along the way, but I know Bethany and I probably need to paint a clearer picture, starting with the advanced committee and then pushing that out to everyone. So I think that might be an important. Once this group creates the vision, go back to the advanced committee, look at that vision, and really look at how we've kind of tracked that shift and that change in science, and look at short term and long term. So,
Jim, can you say what you just said again?
We don't know how what we're currently doing in STEM. I can't make the connection. There's nothing that allows me to make the connection between what we're doing in STEM helps us to achieve whatever it is our desired outcome is. So I find that every time we engage in a process, the process starts at A, and we go to B, and we go to C, and we go to D. And what we really should be doing is to say, we want to end up at Z, and then work backwards, right? So we need to declare, like, in science, we want to be X, fill in the blank. We want students to achieve and be able to accomplish X. I'm not just talking about a curriculum perspective. It could be, it could relate to
performance assessments with certain tests, exams. It could relate to what certain colleges are looking for kids who want to go into STEM fields, and then work backwards and say, you know, does this get us there? Do current kids within the school system now, does it get them there, given the fact that it's going to take 2 years, 3 years, 4 years to implement this? I mean, there's not, I guess what I'm saying is I need data. It's like flying a plane without radar, you know? It's just, we're just taking stuff and just throwing it up against the wall and seeing if it sticks. And that's frustrating just to me. Just for me. I can't say for the rest of the group. That's why I have a hard time articulating it, because there's nothing that I can reference to say, yep, nope, and then hold you guys accountable to it.
I think we haven't done a good job of making our plan clear to you for what our endpoint is, but also how we get there. So I think that might be the issue.
Right, and I think that's a long time. Sorry.
I would actually venture to say that what you just said applies to all the pillars, not just to this. And I think that's what our work tonight should be. We need to figure out that front piece, we need to figure out that back piece, and then each of the pillars can take that information and develop their plan and how that, and that should all make sense and align with both the initial mission, vision, purpose, and the outcomes.
I feel like we're putting the cart before the horse a little bit. I feel like we're getting into the weeds. And it's hard to get into the weeds when you don't.
And I have a feeling that there's work that has been done, is being done, that, you know, will align. We just need to see it. And I'm sure there's gaps too. So the work that you all will do will expose those gaps, which will be a good thing. And that's where we can see improvement.
And that was a common thread that we saw when we sat down to analyze the responses that you submitted to Peter. And really, a lot of the work that we want to help to facilitate tonight, it speaks exactly to what you're saying, Jim, that, you know, clarity of mission and vision, and what do you want the mission and vision to be. And then the hope is that all of your pillars will then align with that vision and mission. So
And
you're
how do you
asking,
measure our success?
and then how do you measure it exactly?
Dave.
So we made the claim that we want to meet the next generation science standards.
Well, we want to align our curriculums to the new standards.
Right. I look at this thing as a much more concrete thing. If a student from Sauhegan wants to go on to RPI, there are certain things he's going to have to know, or he or she is going to have to know in order to be successful there. And we want to prepare them for that step. I don't necessarily see the connection to the next generation science standards for a person that wants to go into mechanical engineering and understand physics B, and have advanced placement in physics B or something like that. To me, it's got to be more concrete, related to what some of the engineering schools are asking for, some of the science schools are asking for, and so they can be successful in college, as opposed to just going there with some next-gen philosophical kinds of standards.
So I don't want to take up too much time here, because I am worried we won't get to our next step in the visioning piece, and I think that's a great conversation, Dave, for advance, because I think Bethany and I can share and kind of provide deeper context to those standards and why Bethany and I both felt that that was a first step. I know, and Paul had his hand up before. Did you want to share, Paul?
No, it was covered.
Okay.
Yeah.
I just wanted to say that you touched on something that is kind of what I was trying to say in response to Jim's comments. And Amy, I think, was saying the same thing as me. I think you guys are doing a lot of work that we might not be aware of. And like you said, maybe part of it is you haven't fully explained your vision or where we're going. Because I kind of feel like, well, we are the check and balance, and we going through the strategic planning process, I feel a little bit at a loss also, like Jim or maybe Amy do, but maybe for different reasons, because I'm not in professional development. I'm not an expert on curriculum. I'm not going to conferences like you are. I'm not up on all the laws of special ed like Meg is. I'm not going, I don't know what other districts are doing. So I kind of feel like, and I might be the only one that has this opinion, that I want to hear a vision from you guys. Like, I want to hear a vision from you guys, and then we help say whether it's our vision or how we get there. But since you're the experts, I kind of want to hear a vision from you rather than us all trying to scramble and come up with a vision, because if we start talking about specific courses like physics or whatever within STEM or special ed or any curriculum, I feel like that's a little bit of micromanaging, and I feel like you guys are the ones that should know what our kids need to get into college. And so I kind of would rather hear the vision from you guys.
And I think that's, Bethany and I working with Sue Downer and really coming up with a more detailed plan for STEM moving forward, and being able to share that with the advanced committee, getting feedback from that committee, and then being able to share out with all of you would be a really good next step for us.
I think the last point on advance, and you brought it up a little bit, was this is a great conversation. There's a lot of things happening in our schools that board members from different districts don't know. So we're trying to kind of catch up with that, but I'd like the idea of vision. I like the idea of talking, because we're not, the board members are thinking one thing and we're thinking another thing. Maybe it's not right, who knows? But this is a good beginning conversation about all of this. I want to tell you, for example, in advance, a lot of talk about one-to-one. We're hearing that amongst people, board members, staff members. Last Thursday night, we had a presentation that I thought was amazing on coding. So that's, you used to see sixth graders come in and do some coding pieces, which was really, really good. And innovation and lab that we have at the middle school. A lot of things sometimes by fiat just happen, and then we pick up what's happening. A lot of those things are happening.
I'll go really quickly through this. When we met to develop this agenda, we felt like there were a lot of pieces of the strategic plan that you might not be aware of the work that's already been done, but also, reviewing that work kind of helps to ground you in each one of the pillars, which might help us moving forward with a vision. So I'll go pretty quickly. I did want to show you, the advanced pillar and share the Smartsheet software with you, but we do have quick updates from each one of the pillars. So these bullets here are what we're actually currently working on. So with Connect, nurturing and growing our community partnerships, our innovation and design lab at AMS, our work with the recreation department, and then STEM connections with outside organizations, which we've done a lot here at the high school with that piece. It's something we had shared with the SAU-39 Board, but certainly something we need to also spread out. And you can see how this is Connect, but it ties in even with Advance and our STEM work. And then also with Connect is our digital magazine, which Peter has updated you on and shared with you, but also the Claw, which is our digital magazine here at SAU-39, and students run that. They're collaborating with administration on the digital magazine, which is an exciting development too. And that's really tying in with that marketing committee and the need to be able to communicate better.
Connect has not met a lot. We have a new chair for that committee. We should be meeting soon. So Paul has agreed. Well, it's the one is on to head that committee. So, I told him I would attend one meeting. Didn't I tell you I would attend one meeting of the Connect committee, or was it more?
That was
every
a
time we
Zoom
meet.
meeting,
Exactly.
Connect committee meetings will be at bar 1, by the way.
I'll be at all the meetings.
Only during happy hour.
So thank you, Paul.
Yep, you bet.
Our Invest update, there's some updates on teacher leader effectiveness stages. We're continuing to use that platform for our observations, tied in with Thoughtful Classroom, and continued pilot of tripod surveys, and some work on competitive employee benefits. We've continued some work, healthcare partnership, negotiations is ongoing. We've continued with our substitute training program, And then health and wellness, turf field, building-based health and wellness programs, and teachers in each school are helping to support that, and they're in the 5 different areas of wellness, and working to implement partnering of HR with Amherst Department. Streamline pillar update. Again, that strategy, the first strategy is really where the focus of that committee has been, but the task force to explore streamlining options. The task force was created exploring consolidation options and obviously presented recently to all of you. But there are some other pieces too. The collection of basic student financial IT procurement and HR data, where we have a new data coordinator position at the SAU level. It's a 0.5 position new this year. We're really excited. We were able to hire someone recently, and she's wonderful. So that piece is really kind of really starting. The other is evaluating supporting business practices. Really ongoing discussions with both Adam and John Robichaud about how we can really look at streamlining efforts there. And then Unite. The personalized learning. We've done a lot of work this summer with our curriculum, as many of you know, but we are using K-12 model competencies in our curriculum and starting to use those competencies in our curriculum documents. Getting teachers familiar with them will help move us in the direction of competency-based education, which is really pretty similar to moving toward that personalized learning. It's a step after that.
Because I was on this committee originally, are the terms going to be the same? Like, in other words, I know Sohegan already has learner expectations. Are we going to change those?
Yeah, so we have a work study practices committee that's working on that right now, and we actually met probably about 3 weeks ago or so, and the committee is still looking at that. We might change that name, we might not. We really looked at our alignment between the academic learner expectations and what New Hampshire has outlined as work study practices. So that work is underway. We met just a few weeks ago.
I guess more importantly is we talked about it being consistent.
Yes.
Or as consistent as it can be across all grades.
Yeah, we had a great conversation about that importance of being consistent, but also not taking what Sohegan has and placing it on the other schools, but then also looking what's developmentally appropriate at each grade level so that kindergartners can still internalize those work study practices and competencies. We might have to use different terms, but we want to make sure that we can track that development of those terms.
And that's actually an active conversation in the assessment grading and reporting. It is. Also? Yeah.
Common principles for teaching and learning. That's really through thoughtful classroom and our continued work there. The rigorous academic standards and work study practices. So the piece on new content standards and aligning our curriculum to those new standards, which we've talked about, and that work study practices committee that I just mentioned. Common reporting system. We have an assessment, grading, and reporting committee. We met just in October, I believe it was, and then we're meeting again in December, coming up in about 2 weeks or so. And then the 21st century skills, that's really work study practices in New Hampshire. So really looking at incorporating those work study practices in both our curriculum as well as our assessment. I think that's it. Yeah, so that was really quick pillar update. So you can see that there's a lot of, I think what's challenging with the pillars, there's a lot that's in a few pillars sometimes. So they're similar or they overlap. So I think that's one of the challenges, but also a really good piece for us because we can see the connections across. So I think it's about sharing all of those out. So any questions?
Christine, what's our goal for the 22nd of December regarding pillars? No, that's a trick question.
No, I'm wondering what the 22nd of December is.
It's another board meeting.
Oh, yes. Okay, thank you.
3 days before Christmas.
I'm like, what's on?
Not a trick question.
Yes. No, so our goal would be for all of the pillar groups to meet at some point following this meeting, share feedback from this meeting to those pillar groups, and then have them complete the Smartsheet software to then be able to update all of you on our progress on that. So,
Thank you.
Christmas trees.
I know.
Yes.
I have a quick question. So we're the pillar chairs now. David's still Advanced. Paul's Connect. Who are the other three now?
Invest is Carrie James in our office.
Okay.
Unite.
Is the two of us?
Hi, Steve.
We're going to do it
So
together.
these are new, I'll let you go through that. But I hadn't had a chance to talk to both of you, so I didn't want to just say you're in.
Didn't we start out with you?
And I think it'll work well,
For
too.
most,
And streamline Franklin.
I think it's good that they're being chaired by board members.
I don't.
Oh, yes,
Invested.
You're right, Carrie's on. Never mind. But the ones that are.
But the rest
I
are.
think it's Never mind, you go with that.
Yeah.
I
So-
spent so much time with Carrie
Thank you.
today. Yeah, it's just us.
So Sarah and Beth will take over Unite. And again, we have kind of a reignition for this plan. We're at a kind of a stop point. We want to get back into it. Okay? Christine, thank you. So I want you to be thinking about, right now, I want you to think about what are the major priorities, work priorities do you think we need to do together as SAU board and administration? I'll just give you a couple of minutes. If you were to yell out, I want this done, this should be done, this should be done. So really what we're going to do in about a couple of minutes, I'm going to ask you to tell us what those work priorities are, those things that you have in mind that, boy, we really have to get this. Now maybe vision, which we're going to do, but maybe other things that you have on your mind, okay? And what we're going to do, Meg's going to write them down, we're going to have a parking lot for you. On the 22nd of December, we have things that we have to bring back to you. We're not going to be able to kind of put everything in a perfect pace tonight, so we'll bring back some things on our agenda on the 22nd, which is 3 days before Christmas. So you get what I'm asking? Think of the major priorities or work that you think the board or us or both of us should be involved in. It's been kind of on your mind for a while. And anyone can start and make this fast typer. Okay? Jim?
How realistic do those things need to be and what's the scope?
I'm going to say, is this, I would say realistic, not pie in the sky, and within the next year.
Within the next year?
So can you repeat the?
Kind of the major priorities do you see for this board or for administration or both? Realistic kind of goals and priorities, SAU-wide, realistic goals and priorities for us within the next year. Good question. Okay.
So,
Meg's ready to talk. Okay.
I'm just curious about what level of framework you're talking about here. I mean, one could be very broad and all-encompassing, like, first-class sports program that's out here, or in the school district, school SAU. Or one could be specific. I'm just giving you an example.
Yeah, I don't think it's talking in general, Meg, easy
I'm
that.
trying to talk in generalities here so that we get an idea here. But so is it a first-class field hockey team? I mean, where are we at? Are we trying to get a school objective, or are we trying to get a specific program?
Anything that's on your mind that you think, boy, I really wish we had this, or the work was done. Remember this, earlier in the meeting I said my goal is to finish all the required policies by the end of June.
Okay, I'll clarify that. Peter said when you hired him, you guys had 4 things that you guys felt like had to be taken care of.
Yep.
There were major priorities and issues that just had to be addressed. So we want to hear what those things might be that are gnawing at you folks now before we get into the strategic piece. What are the major tasks and objectives that are just left undone that need to be tackled?
Very good.
So, I mean, I think we're already starting, but I think I don't mind curriculum,
Okay.
pre-K to 12.
Good.
Unified philosophy.
I'm taking seconds.
We need a dashboard, key performance indicators.
Third, fourth.
vision plan from the SAU administration.
Next year, this is tough, but I would like to see us identify I'm not sure what the scope of this is, but I'll just say what's in my head because this is nagging at me for last year. I think we should aggressively seek a post-secondary strategic partner. Have one have a list, not saying engage in discussion with them, but have a list of post-secondary strategic partners identified.
Yeah, plural, right?
Potential strategic partners.
Just point of clarification, do we have that already? I mean, I kind of feel like we do.
Well, we do on some levels. High school level has strategic partners through a number of items, mostly the ethics forum has that.
But also through Brown and through.
Correct.
Yeah, a few others.
So we have to.
Yeah, I'm thinking more along the lines of a post-secondary strategic partner where our work could potentially be more integrated in terms of extensibility of the school district, brand, culture, all of that. That could also inform us of what our curriculum and all of those other things need to be in order for us to be more leading edge. That's where my head is. I don't know if you capture all that, try to encapsulate it, but that's what my thought process was.
Does that include like a college branch on campus?
Potentially.
Yeah.
Or a cyber college branch or whatever, that depends on what, does all this work.
Sarah?
Can you just explain to me what the post-secondary, what that encompasses? Is that business or college specific? Just, that's not something that I'm super familiar with. Can you help me?
I think we'd be creating it, that's the problem.
And I think it
Yeah.
depends, but
Yeah.
to me, it goes back to we define the target, then we define what we need to do to get to that target. What I'm seeing or hearing Jim say, forgive me, Jim, if I got it wrong,
Nope.
is that having targeted post-secondary partners allows us and understanding what they're looking for out of high school students is a target, is a goal, which I know some work's been done already, or we already have. And what we're talking about is making sure we have a curriculum, K through 12, that so these partners say, oh, you went to Amherst. Oh, we're already aligned with Amherst. Of course we're going to pay attention to you.
So you're saying it could be industry or collegiate level, or that's what I'm hearing.
So
that it's not necessarily restricted to one.
Can I just give an example? So we went to East Syracuse, Manila, and they had business partners, sponsors, who actually gave money, were involved in developing programs in the school, from a hairdressing course to a mechanics course to a architect and building. So these are outside businesses who gave money, sponsorship, and expertise to have these types of courses within the school. So just as an example. So it's seeking business as well as educational partners. Those are just examples in any number of capacities. But Paul's right, we have to figure out what we want and then seek the partners that will drive that, facilitate that happening.
Do we already have policies around that?
Sorry?
Do we already have policies around that? How that jives ethically?
I doubt it.
I doubt it too.
No.
So I would say if we do that, can we look at that from a policy standpoint?
Sure. We already have Dine from Manchester as a business that we have.
Dine, yeah.
Because Brown,
Stanford, yeah, Bar from, the Dine Corporation, we have a corporation around here.
We're already partnering with them a little bit, but when they get there, it's a pretty
But it's a good example.
Yeah, just as an example.
Sorry.
That's good, really great discussion.
As one of the things I was thinking of.
Yep.
We love that visit, we'll have to go back.
Yeah.
We told them we'd go back next time.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing.
I was just
what
going to make
they're
a comment
doing.
that sounds a lot like one of our Connect goals, I
Yeah,
guess.
it does.
Yep.
It does.
Very much so.
Well, I'm checking off in my head the ones you're saying that really kind of are, some of them are already in the plan,
Yeah.
right, which is
Yeah.
nice. But, others? Any real priority that's been gnawing at?
Evaluation system. The evaluation process that we started years ago, I don't think it's ever been complete. Of all the staff, I think that's a priority for me.
Teacher leader effectiveness is alive and well. We're getting observed and evaluated for sure over the last 3 years.
3 years.
Okay. So, and it continues.
And the digital, the digital mag, it's been a big driver from one Vernon Board standpoint, to get something to allow people looking at the area, to get a snapshot or a view. And so it's seeing what the digital magazine encompasses and what other districts, we looked at what other school systems did and what was on there and tried to make sure. So I'm interested to see what the collaboration is and if it's meeting the need, because I think that test scores and future goals and cost per pupil, all sorts of things should be accessible. We want that to be from a community base that anybody can get that. It seems now it takes a lot to go into our district to find some of those specific things, and so we're hoping something like this is pretty. So I think that's more of a shorter term, but I think it stems around communication and accessibility.
And a big old Amherst as well.
David?
This is something that's really achievable next year, and that is develop a STEM model of where we want to be relative to other highly regarded STEM schools. We talked about something today where we're pretty far behind in an area where we think we could be much better off. But I don't see that we have a model that says this is where we want to get to. And I talked about a model that I think there's a lot of room to be had by understanding where other schools are right now. We went to Wyndham. It opened up a lot of eyes and doors for me.
Sure. I think the more visits people can do, not only to Wyndham but other places. When I was superintendent of Pembroke, we had a PD day, and I sent everyone to a different place. We said, go to a different place and come back and report. They went to schools all over the 3 states and were amazed. We could be amazed too, and they could be amazed to hear and see what's going on.
Some of these things are, starting with the end in mind. You can say you want an integrated K-12 program, but if you don't really know what you want to finish up with when a person graduates from grade 12, what do they know? What can they do? And so for some of the kids that graduate from here, they're going to go into college. Some are not. Some are going to go into other kind of activities. And so, but having that framework about what we want to finish up with helps drive what we need to do to get there. And I haven't seen anything about really the prototype that we want to, the prototype segments that we want to develop from leaving our 12th grade.
That has been talked about minimally. We even talked today about not a graduate from 12th grade, but what is a graduate from 8th grade? What should they be able to do as we look at the high school as an example?
My point again is begin with the end in mind. So what's the end product? Then you work your way back. So you would get to the 8th grade, but start with the end, and then it can make the other steps a lot easier.
Mary Lou, did you have your hand up?
Yeah, so just to touch on something you were saying, Peter, I would actually like to see us do exactly what you said. So many times community members have said, specifically to us, the high school, have you gone and seen how Miss Brookline is doing? But I would like that to go out to a bunch of different schools in the area and bring back best practices, so to speak. I also would love to see, so that as a separate thing, I would like to see, because we don't know, so more communication between the schools. I think we've already said in our strategic plan, but I would add that more communication. I know the high school and middle school have had a lot more communications, more than ever in 20 years that we've lived here. But I'd like to see that continue. And The other thing is I'd like to see each board, because we don't all know what's going on, and I like the sharing part of our board, but every single one of our schools has strengths, and I would love to see a list that each board thinks are their strengths and weaknesses, or things that they wouldn't give up. And I can think of like the Mount Vernon Village School. They're the only ones that have, or they have foreign language in the elementary school. That to me would be a strength of the Mount Vernon Village School that we'd like to maybe bring to the Amherst elementary schools. So I would like to see each board what they feel like, because I don't know the Amherst schools as well as you guys do, and you don't know Sauhegan as well as we do, I would imagine. So I'd love to see something like that where each board brings it might help in the strategic planning process, even if each board brought what they think their strengths and maybe weaknesses of their school, and maybe kind of like the SWOT analysis that Paul recommended last time for our process. And then I guess I only have one other thing, sorry, but I would like to review, at some point, I think it would be good for this board to review the calendar again, specifically later start for high school and whether this, shorter school year and 20 minutes is working.
Oyster River just changed their calendars. Their time.
Yeah.
The later.
They did.
Yeah.
What they do? They just changed what? They moved their opening time to later.
Yeah.
We know, we've worked on it for a year and a half, it can't be done.
Yeah.
I'd love to see.
So
that be
2 more minutes or less. Steve.
So putting my project manager hat in that, for every initiative in here that survives tonight, I should recognize the fine practice of the Amherst School Board and have the name of either a school board member or a SAU administrator or a building administrator attached to the initiative as the designated responsible individual for it. And a year from now, each of those initiatives will report at least some substantive positive progress.
Thank you, Steve.
It is now in writing, so good. There's Mike Schmoker. He's a kind of an educational consultant and writer. Says that when he asked about his strategic plan, he said, I would do one thing and do it really well. Pick one thing and do it really well. That's his. I know we have a lot of initiatives going on. So. Anything else that we can do? What did you have as a real priority? Okay. Mr. Steele, you want to take a 2-minute break? Is that helpful, or are you guys all set to go? Keep going. How many want to keep going? How many want to take a 2-minute break? How many are okay? Well, we're going to keep going because we only have one vote. Who doesn't care?
Are we taking a break?
No.
We're going to keep going.
Ask again after.
Yeah, let's power.
Okay.
Okay, so we just listed a bunch of things, and then we're going to switch over to, after SWOT analysis, eventually get into a vision for where we're going. So this, we think, will help frame that discussion about that visioning process. So this is Simon said, and some of you may have seen this. Have you seen this before?
You're welcome.
And so that's that. We'll just have this, and then we'll have a discussion about it.
How do you explain when things don't go as we assume? Or better, how do you explain when others are able to achieve things that seem to defy all of the assumptions? For example, why is Apple so innovative? Year after year after year after year, they're more innovative than all their competition. And yet they're just a computer company. They're just like everyone else. They have the same access to the same talent, the same agencies, the same consultants, the same media. Then why is it that they seem to have something different? Why is it that Martin Luther King led the civil rights movement? He wasn't the only man who suffered in a pre-civil rights America, and he certainly wasn't the only great orator of the day. Why him? And why is it that the Wright brothers were able to figure out controlled powered man flight when there were certainly other teams who were better qualified, better funded, and they didn't achieve powered man flight, and the Wright brothers beat them to it? There's something else at play here. About 3.5 years ago, I made a discovery. And this discovery profoundly changed my view on how I thought the world worked, and it even profoundly changed the way in which I operate in it. As it turns out, there's a pattern. As it turns out, all the great and inspiring leaders and organizations in the world, whether it's Apple or Martin Luther King or the Wright brothers, they all think, act, and communicate the exact same way, and it's the complete opposite to everyone else. All I did was codify it. And it's probably the world's simplest idea. I call it the golden circle. Why, how, what? This little idea explains why some organizations and some leaders are able to inspire where others aren't. Let me define the terms really quickly. Every single person, every single organization on the planet knows what they do, 100%. Some know how they do it, whether you call it your differentiating value proposition or your proprietary process or your USP. But very, very few people or organizations know why they do what they do. And by why, I don't mean to make a profit. That's a result. It's always a result. By why, I mean what's your purpose? What's your cause? What's your belief? Why does your organization exist? Why do you get out of bed in the morning? And why should anyone care? Well, as a result, the way we think, the way we act, the way we communicate is from the outside in. It's obvious. We go from the clearest thing to the fuzziest thing. But the inspired leaders and the inspired organizations, regardless of their size, regardless of their industry, all think, act, and communicate from the inside out. Let me give you an example. I use Apple because they're easy to understand and everybody gets it. If Apple were like everyone else, a marketing message from them might sound like this. We make great computers. They're beautifully designed, simple to use, and user-friendly. Want to buy one? Meh. And that's how most of us communicate. That's how most marketing is done, that's how most sales is done, and that's how most of us communicate interpersonally. We say what we do, we say how we're different or how we're better, and we expect some sort of behavior, a purchase, a vote, something like that. Here's our new law firm. We have the best lawyers with the biggest clients. We have, we always perform for our clients, do business with us. Here's our new car. It gets great gas mileage. It has, leather seats. Buy our car. But it's uninspiring. Here's how Apple actually communicates. Everything we do, we believe in challenging the status quo. We believe in thinking differently. The way we challenge the status quo is by making our products beautifully designed, simple to use, and user-friendly. We just happen to make great computers. Want to buy one? Totally different, right? You ready to buy a computer? All I did was reverse the order of the information. What it proves to us is that people don't buy what you do, people buy why you do it. People don't buy what you do, they buy why you do it. This explains why every single person in this room is perfectly comfortable buying a computer from Apple. But we're also perfectly comfortable buying an MP3 player from Apple, or a phone from Apple, or a DVR from Apple. But as I said before, Apple's just a computer company. There's nothing that distinguishes them structurally from any of their competitors. Their competitors are all equally qualified to make all of these products. In fact, they tried. A few years ago, Gateway came out with flat-screen TVs. They're eminently qualified to make flat-screen TVs. They've been making flat-screen monitors for years. Nobody bought one. Dell came out with MP3 players and PDAs. And they make great quality products, and they can make perfectly well-designed products. And nobody bought one. In fact, talking about it now, we can't even imagine buying an MP3 player from Dell. Why would you buy an MP3 player from a computer company? But we do it every day. People don't buy what you do, they buy why you do it. The goal is not to do business with everybody who needs what you have. The goal is to do business with people who believe what you believe. Here's the best part. None of what I'm telling you is my opinion. It's all grounded in the tenets of biology, not psychology, biology. If you look at a cross-section of the human brain, looking from the top down, what you see is the human brain is actually broken into three major components that correlate perfectly with the golden circle. Our newest brain, our Homo sapien brain, our neocortex, corresponds with the what level. The neocortex is responsible for all of our rational and analytical thought and language. The middle two sections make up our limbic brains, and our limbic brains are responsible for all of our feelings, like trust and loyalty. It's also responsible for all human behavior, all decision-making, and it has no capacity for language. In other words, when we communicate from the outside in, yes, people can understand vast amounts of complicated information like features and benefits and facts and figures. It just doesn't drive behavior. When we communicate from the inside out, we're talking directly to the part of the brain that controls behavior, and then we allow people to rationalize it with the tangible things we say and do. This is where gut decisions come from. You know, sometimes you can give somebody all the facts and the figures, and they say, I know what all the facts and details say, but it just doesn't feel right. Why would we use that verb? It doesn't feel right. Because the part of the brain that controls decision-making doesn't control language. And the best we can muster up is, I don't know, it just doesn't feel right. Or sometimes you say you're leading with your heart, or you're leading with your soul. Well, I hate to break it to you, those aren't other body parts controlling your behavior. It's all happening here in your limbic brain, the part of the brain that controls decision-making and not language. But if you don't know why you do what you do, and people respond to why you do what you do, then how will you ever get people to vote for you or buy something from you, or more importantly, be loyal and want to be a part of what it is that you do? Again, the goal is not just to sell people who need what you have. The goal is to sell to people who believe what you believe. The goal is not just to hire people who need a job. It's to hire people who believe what you believe. I always say that, you know, this if you hire people just because they can do a job, they'll work for your money. But if you hire people who believe what you believe, they work for you with blood and sweat and tears. And nowhere else is there a better example of this than with the Wright brothers. Most people don't know about Samuel Pierpont Langley. And back in the early 20th century, the pursuit of powered man flight was like the dot-com of the day. Everybody was trying it. And Samuel Pierpont Langley had what we assume to be the recipe for success. I mean, even now, you ask people, why did your product or why did your company fail? And people always give you the same permutation of the same thing. Undercapitalized, the wrong people, bad market conditions. It's always the same three things. So let's explore that. Samuel Pierpont Langley was given $50,000 by the War Department to figure out this flying machine. Money was no problem. He held a seat at Harvard and worked at the Smithsonian and was extremely well connected. He knew all the big minds of the day. He hired the best minds money could find, and the market conditions were fantastic. The New York Times followed him around everywhere, and everyone was rooting for Langley. And how come we've never heard of Samuel Pierpont Langley? A few hundred miles away in Dayton, Ohio, Orville and Wilbur Wright. They had none of what we consider to be the recipe for success. They had no money. They paid for their dream with the proceeds from their bicycle shop. Not a single person on the Wright brothers' team had a college education, not even Orville or Wilbur. And the New York Times followed them around nowhere. The difference was Orville and Wilbur were driven by a cause, by a purpose, by a belief. They believed that if they could figure out this flying machine, it'll change the course of the world. Samuel Pierpont Langley was different. He wanted to be rich, and he wanted to be famous. He was in pursuit of the result. He was in pursuit of the riches. And lo and behold, look what happened. The people who believed in the Wright brothers' dream worked with them with blood and sweat and tears. The others just worked for the paycheck. And they tell stories of how every time the Wright brothers went out, they would have to take 5 sets of parts because that's how many times they would crash before they came in for supper. And eventually, on December 17th, 1903, the Wright brothers took flight. And no one was there to even experience it. We found out about it a few days later. And further proof that Langley was motivated by the wrong thing, the day the Wright brothers took flight, he quit. He could have said, that's an amazing discovery, guys. Now I'll improve upon your technology. But he didn't. He wasn't first, he didn't get rich, he didn't get famous, so he quit. People don't buy what you do, they buy why you do it. And if you talk about what you believe, you will attract those who believe what you believe. Well, why is it important to attract those who believe what you believe? Something called the law of diffusion of innovation. And if you don't know the law, you definitely know the terminology. The first 2.5% of our population are our innovators. The next 13.5% of our population are our early adopters. The next 34% are your early majority, your late majority, and your laggards. The only reason these people buy touch-tone phones is because you can't buy rotary phones anymore. We all sit at various places at various times on the scale, but what the law of diffusion of innovation tells us is that if you want mass market success or mass market acceptance of an idea, you cannot have it until you achieve this tipping point between 15 and 18% market penetration, and then the system tips. And I love asking businesses, what's your conversion on new business? And they love to tell you, oh, it's about 10%, proudly. Well, you can trip over 10% of the customers. We all have about 10% who just get it. That's how we describe them, right? That's like that gut feeling, oh, they just get it. The problem is, how do you find the ones that just get it before you're doing business with them versus the ones who don't get it? So it's this here, this little gap, that you have to close, as Jeffrey Moore calls it, crossing the chasm. Because you see, the early majority will not try something until someone else has tried it first. And these guys, the innovators and the early adopters, they're comfortable making those gut decisions. They're more comfortable making those intuitive decisions that are driven by what they believe about the world, and not just what product is available. These are the people who stood online for 6 hours to buy an iPhone when they first came out, when you could have just walked into the store the next week and bought one off the shelf. These are the people who spent $40,000 on flat-screen TVs when they first came out, even though the technology was substandard. And by the way, they didn't do it because the technology was so great. They did it for themselves. It's because they wanted to be first. People don't buy what you do, they buy why you do it. And what you do simply proves what you believe. In fact, people will do the things that prove what they believe. The reason that person bought the iPhone in the first 6 hours, or stood in line for 6 hours, was because of what they believed about the world and how they wanted everybody to see them. They were first. People don't buy what you do, they buy why you do it. So let me give you a famous example, a famous failure and a famous success of the law of diffusion of innovation. First, the famous failure. It's a commercial example. As we said before a second ago, the recipe for success is money and the right people and the right marketing conditions, right? You should have success then. Look at TiVo. From the time TiVo came out about 8 or 9 years ago to this current day, they are the single highest quality product on the market. Hands down, there is no dispute. They were extremely well funded. Market conditions were fantastic. I mean, we use TiVo as a verb. I TiVo stuff on my piece of junk Time Warner DVR all the time. But TiVo is a commercial failure. They've never made money. And when they went IPO, their stock was at about $30 or $40 and then plummeted, and it's never traded above 10. In fact, I don't think it's even traded above 6, except for a couple of little spikes. Because you see, when TiVo launched their product, they told us all what they had. They said, we have a product that pauses live TV, skips commercials, rewinds live TV, and memorizes your viewing habits without you even asking. And the cynical majority said, we don't believe you. We don't need it. We don't like it. You're scaring us. What if they had said, if you're the kind of person who likes to have total control over every aspect of your life, boy, do we have a product for you. It pauses live TV, skips commercials, memorizes your viewing habits, etc., etc. People don't buy what you do, they buy why you do it, and what you do simply serves as the proof of what you believe. Now let me give you a successful example of the law of diffusion of innovation. In the summer of 1963, 250,000 people showed up on the Mall in Washington to hear Dr. King speak. They sent out no invitations, and there was no website to check the date. How do you do that? Well, Dr. King wasn't the only man in America who was a great orator. He wasn't the only man in America who suffered in a pre-civil rights America. In fact, some of his ideas were bad. but he had a gift. He didn't go around telling people what needed to change in America. He went around and told people what he believed. I believe, I believe, I believe, he told people. And people who believed what he believed took his cause and they made it their own, and they told people. And some of those people created structures to get the word out to even more people. And lo and behold, 250,000 people showed up on the right day, on the right time, to hear him speak. How many of them showed up for him? 0. They showed up for themselves. It's what they believed about America that got them to travel on a bus for 8 hours to stand in the sun in Washington in the middle of August. It's what they believed. And it wasn't about black versus white. 25% of the audience was white. Dr. King believed that there are 2 types of laws in this world, those that are made by a higher authority and those that are made by man. And not until all the laws that are made by man are consistent with the laws that are made by the higher authority will we live in a just world. It just so happens that the civil rights movement was the perfect thing to help him bring his cause to life. We followed him not for him, but for ourselves. And by the way, he gave the I have a dream speech, not the I have a plan speech. Listen to politicians now with their comprehensive 12-point plans. They're not inspiring anybody. Because there are leaders and there are those who lead. Leaders hold a position of power or authority, but those who lead inspire us. Whether they're individuals or organizations, we follow those who lead, not because we have to, but because we want to. We follow those who lead, not for them, but for ourselves. And it's those who start with why that have the ability to inspire those around them or find others who inspire them. Thank you very much.
So a couple of thoughts about that. First, as an aside, you talk about the limbic system in the neocortex. If you're wondering why your teenagers make decisions based on their feelings, it's because their limbic systems are fully developed by the teenage years. But the prefrontal cortex that does high-order thinking doesn't get fully formed until someone's mid to late 20s. So it's interesting how they can make those choices fully involved with their feelings. But there's an interesting component there if you think about what we're doing here in the school system. We're not a business. We're not trying to make profits. And we have, in some ways, a consumer base that's stuck with us, right? We're doing a lot of choices besides our school system. But if you think more broadly than that, people certainly have a choice of where they live and what school system they want to be a part of. So a couple of thoughts about that. I want to go back just to an example that Dave brought up. You mentioned a STEM program, a clearly defined and articulated STEM program. That's a what. If you think about that, that's something that we would do. But why are we doing it? What's the more core belief behind what Dave is talking about? What might Dave say that he believes in us doing what? And the STEM piece is a result of the what, something deeper for Dave. And so we want to have a conversation about that, the end of that sentence. We believe as a school district, as a school board, as administrators, we believe in what? Because we believe that having that conversation and that visioning piece can be something that then builds upon all of the rest of our work. So it's easy, and we kind of did it before, talking about all the what's on the outside. And so we're intentionally trying to flip that around now and start thinking from the inside out. So the next step for us is. Before that, any thoughts on that before we shift gears to the next piece? But has to start thinking about the answer to that question. We believe in what? We believe in what?
So, along those lines again, we had taken a hard look at the responses that you sent back, and we ourselves, I think, as administrators, have been sort of struggling, and I'm on we're all on one of the pillars as well, and struggling with trying to help to facilitate and lead those committees forward in the absence of what the overarching vision or mission should be. And so I heard what you said, Mary Lou, and so I've been sitting over here pondering that since you said it, because the next thing that we wanted to work with you on is helping to develop, by utilizing the information that is in the existing strategic plan, that you all were very instrumental in and have put so much time and years of work into, and utilizing that, because I think that the components of this have the vision and the mission that you collectively want in it. It just has not been articulated. And after listening to that TED Talk the other day and then again tonight and listening to what you said, Mary Lou, I think that we all can relate to that. I'm not here, believe it or not, just for a paycheck. I believe in what I do every day. I didn't get into education for the paycheck, if you could believe that. I feel passionate about children and all students and the outcomes that we are collectively able to produce within our districts and for our children and our students. So I listened to what you said, and what we want to have you work in right now in your, I'm not going to use the word pod, but at your table groups is taking into consideration what you just saw. We're going to pass out some examples of vision and mission statements, including one that a board member submitted that I actually really liked, and some sticky notes and some guiding principles with regard to what goes into developing an effective mission statement or vision statement. And we want you to spend some time tonight working together to put together, using this information, what you think would work for you as a group. We're going to then take all of that information and assimilate it for our next meeting. But I'm wondering if Peter and Christine and Adam and I should go through the same exercise. If not tonight, at some point, and add our input to be considered as well. So that being said, we're going to pass this stuff out.
Sticky notes are on your table.
Sorry.
Was the vision and mission statement for each pillar or
Nope, for the plan.
for the plan in general?
I'm sorry.
I'm not really sure what you thought I meant, or what the comments were.
About the administrators providing a vision.
Right, because you guys work for this on a day-to-day,
Yep.
month-to-month, year-to-year, like I said, professional development, conferences, and you don't have the expertise or access
You're right.
to.
And I was agreeing with you.
Okay, I wasn't sure if you knew what I meant by that.
I did, and I thought, she's right. But I think that, in particular, after I had seen that TED Talk, everybody in here is a stakeholder, and everybody in here is here because they really believe in the work. So I think that our input is important, but as each of us.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I'm not doing a very good job passing on my kids.
So I want to let you know what we've passed out, what materials you have, and how you might be able to kind of just dive in and start. So I passed out the mission and vision statements. On there you'll see there's the SAU-39 mission statement. We do already have a mission statement. Your goal today in each of your table groups is to start pulling together a vision statement. To help you with that, we shared both the SAU-39 mission statement and the Sauhegan mission statement. Then we shared a sample vision statement from a school board member, as Meg explained. So that's just a resource for you if you need it. The other thing we passed out is something that might help you get started before you begin, but also certainly help once you've developed some sort of draft. It lists criteria of effective vision statements. So hopefully that will help kind of guide your development, but then also if you reach a point where you're able to reflect on the vision statement that you've developed. There's blank paper at every table. There's the strategic plan. There are pens. There are sticky notes. Markers if you need it. If you want chart paper instead, if your group wants to kind of stand up and brainstorm that way, you're welcome to do that. So really, you're just sort of digging in with your group and brainstorming a sample vision statement. Once each group finishes, we'll take that from you guys, and then we'll try to bring it together and present it at the next meeting.
How many minutes, Christine?
Yeah, 30 minutes. We said, I know our timing might be a little off, but I think we'll be okay.
That's what I was
Yeah, 30 minutes would be good. And again, every group might develop something different, and we'll work on kind of bringing it together. Any questions?
Yeah, right?
Is that good?
Yeah.
I think it's that good. So we need to come up with a vision. Let's start with the vision.
We're supposed to.
Let me ask,
We're taking the mission statement and
is a broad-reaching thing.
developing a
Do we
vision
want to get
statement.
below that? I mean, no, I mean, making our vision more explicit.
I would think about this more broadly. Just think about it like, just answer it this way.
Our goal is to come up with a vision.
We have to not think about just like engineers.
Statement.
We have to think about this more as, I know, we have to think about this more like poetry, okay? So, or,
Still in the mission.
I know.
Step down, I agree. And then
All
after
right.
that, we have
So think about this more like vision statements are more
strategies
horizon
and
oriented.
strategies we have.
Okay, they're more like,
I think what
you're looking
we're
out
out right
into
now,
the future.
if I heard it
And
right,
you're looking to say,
and I could be wrong,
what are we
is
trying
that
to
we're
get
after
Need
it
to
first part of
establish a vision
What are we trying
around
to
the highest
get
level
in?
of,
You know, if you think about
complete
it,
eye granularity, the highest level of
taking trip, you're thinking about
vagueness, for lack of a better term, but that meets these 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 kind of criteria as far as what is it, the why all
all
of
of
it
these
is that we're
vision
trying
statements
to
are like that. They're,
what do we
they're like,
believe,
what's the horizon?
what is it that we want to achieve with our students,
Going
what
after?
do we believe in.
So I'll give you an example. When you Google, like Google's vision and mission statements are great.
That's
They're really
really
great. Google's vision statement is to provide access to schools information.
I don't have a hard time.
Yeah.
Well, the why is, to me, the why is
There's others.
the challenges of the modern world. What are those challenges of the modern world?
Okay, challenges in the modern world, let's write that down.
They actually have their mission vision.
Yeah,
Modern world
exactly.
are-
So,
It's almost more of a vision.
meet the
really.
challenges, exceed
Their
the
mission
challenges.
vision
Future
is
oriented.
fulfill dreams with experiences.
What do you want to say? What's our mission?
It's more
Well,
aspirational.
so what are the challenges? Is the question. What are we
And it's just
going
all
to
get
The
about like
challenges
where
are
you want to
trying to
drive
keep
to.
high level, trying to keep vague, trying to keep being able
But
to
one way you can do it is just by asking yourself a question like, so I don't know if
so you can't get into what the challenges are in a sentence. So I'm thinking that, but I
So
like the
this
idea.
sample is what I think.
That can mean a lot.
Well, I mean, this is not to say we want
No,
to.
it's not.
You know, some of the
It's not.
stamps
I
up there,
just
wouldn't it?
thought I
Yeah.
was like,
Some
wow.
people be carpenters.
That's amazing.
And want to be able to survive and thrive in that. Some challenge, some people want to go off and be police officers.
But I think not even
I'm
like.
not trying to say this like you put in here.
Oh, no, I know. But I think I
Not what I did.
interpret it. I get what you're saying.
I would get tired.
One thing that I saw.
Skills, but challenges of the modern world in terms of just like
You go to Vision First.
culture and
Yeah, well, it's.
like
it can
every,
be
you know,
involved-
social.
How about meet their
My father will
personal
tell you what Bishop
aspirations?
Bishop Bradley in
Yeah.
Manchester.
Be able to achieve their
Bradley,
achieve
you came out
their
as
personal aspirations. They want to leave here prepared to
traditional, nothing wrong with
achieve their
that, very
personal
traditional.
aspirations.
45 minutes of lecture, you go home and do homework. That's the.
Yeah, I don't know what that is.
Prepared to
Whereas
understand
here, I even noticed it with Jack in the last
and
couple of
achieve
weeks.
their personal
He has a
aspirations.
very
Well,
But that to me is a mission statement. That's not a
So
vision.
here, the challenges,
Many
I
ways
think
to drive it.
the challenges are the challenges that are ever evolving
But don't you
never
think
changing. In other words,
parents
they're
have a
not a
lot
static.
to say
Not a
about
static
that?
set of challenges.
They're the ones
Okay, so
driving
you're talking about
the
challenges.
bus.
Let's have
They might,
minor
Jack might
students
have
to-
come out
let's not
like
get
he
into
did.
the individual.
But don't you think
Let's
you
talk
guys had a
about
lot, you and
why
Ben
do
had
we
lots to
care
say
that
about
they
how he
are
came out?
university challenges?
I don't want to get into
Because
it.
I see where you're heading
Like what I'm
with this,
saying,
and
how do you articulate that?
what I think about with my son Liam,
Why do you think it's important
he was
that
very
students meet the challenges?
on that same path.
I'm trying to, it's
He
good,
drove
but
his own education, and we sat
that
back
is
and let him do it.
essentially.
But we were
like
always
I
there
will
in case
always
something,
strive to
was not right.
Laugh at that, maybe, you know, but well,
And I
it's a whole
understand
different world than it is today.
the willingness to let them do everything.
Exactly.
But as adults, we have
What
to
I
make
see
sure
is that
that they do the
the
right
changes are so rapid coming down the line.
Don't want to be
Yeah, I think what I'm saying though is that.
So the challenges are adaptability, being able to rise to the challenges, rise to the events that are thrusting us. You know, events like
kind of like
finally school life.
And how do you translate that in
because of that, I think some kids leave.
Well, actually, the biggest criticism I've always
How do
heard
you at the same
is
time want to have like
it's great if the kids are self-starters. Kids who aren't self-starters, it's not the place for them. They need more structure.
so fast, and there are so many challenges, it's ever evolving. How do we manage that as a school? We can't make changes every 6 months to the school. Like, how do we?
Right.
Limbic system.
But my thought process around that is that we
Cortex probably
teach, not teach. We challenge our students in a way that they become learning agents that are adaptable.
We come back to why.
Well, again, the why is
That being adaptable
I think it's both.
here's a practical story.
I don't want to know.
No.
But my thing is
function
that
in the world.
the clock is ticking.
It's very.
We need to concentrate on the why. Why do we care? I don't know why. I want the reason why they want to do this because I want to be successful.
That's what I saw
I
they
want to do. Why do I want to be successful?
And I wouldn't agree with
that.
I would say I would not advise it because I'm not used to being self-directed. I'm used to just
feel ready to take on the challenges. That's what I want. That's my why. But that may not be what your why is.
My why is that the world is changing so rapidly. So, for example, disaffected people in certain ways.
I used to drive by on the way to Notre Dame.
Better football program.
They weren't able to adapt. You know, the challenge is how do you adapt to the changing world, you know?
Where was I going with this?
Well, he was saying they need guardrails, and I was saying.
I think even if the kids aren't self-directed,
So what I'm saying
even if the
is,
kids aren't self-directed,
it's the
I
challenge
see
of an
that I'm in
ever-changing
here
world that doesn't
day after day, I
necessarily
see
go
the
your
teacher
way.
bending over backwards, trying to do it.
No, I understand that. I'm just saying, I know certain people get up to this level and they take their kids out, and that's why. But they know that's what their child's like, and they don't think so.
We prepare our students
So they go elsewhere. And I'm not saying it's right or wrong. I'm saying it's.
But they don't die. So the thing is, why do we, what do we want? What is it that we have to do for the
Oh, yeah.
What is it that we really believe that they should have? That's what.
Part of this is
So my
every
question,
kid should be able to succeed.
what is it that you want?
Oh, yeah.
What I want is I want happy, confident children who feel successful. Because happy, confident people who feel successful
Despite my son's grave
are
challenges,
able
he came out
to go into situations
fine
and understand
citizen.
who are not afraid of failure. That's what I want.
I would say, I would add to that in an ever-changing
You
world.
want it to be
And I think this will
Because
right.
you have to be
You want
confident
it
in
to
one
be
thing.
there in the goal setting
I
aspect
think
of it, whether
that
it's
we have to put the right people in place to
should.
direct the guardrails, to direct them along the pathway. Now, with my son, he was a
And again, I'm just taking it as a
But
little, you know.
he got so much from a few of the teachers that directed him other places. Sean Whalen got him into Hobie. So he was the Hobie representative for his sophomore
Me,
year.
my why is
Hobie
happy,
opened up
confident
so much more for him
adaptable and not afraid of
because
failure.
of stuff for
Your
skiing.
why.
Because of Hobie, he got into
What else?
United
What do
Way
you
College,
have? Can you tell us
which
again?
ended up
Because
taking
again, I'm
him
going
away
to keep
from
drawing
Deerfield
from all
last
the
year.
in.
But it was all
what our core
the
values
things that
are.
were put in
That's
place
a large
that he
part of.
that made them, succeed. Now, my daughter is a senior, and she's not a sophomore, it's motivator, but she knows what has to be done, and she gets it done because of the people that we have at the school, the teachers. They are her cheerleaders. They make sure that she feels comfortable, she does her work, and she succeeds that way. So I think having the people in place, parents being cheerleaders too, I think it all goes together like that. And I bet your son wouldn't have done what he did if it hadn't been for you and your wife.
Okay. So, Galen, what do you think? What's your why?
Home life complemented.
I'm in agreement with a lot of what you're saying, but I would also add
I don't think there's any doubt
thinking.
that
Independent thinkers
what home
to
you
that.
come from is the number one indicator
You
how
know,
well you're going to
it's
do.
one thing
If
to
you come
be
from a poor
happy-
home, believe me, I can get a couple young guys who work for
Happy
us.
and confident, not afraid.
Horror
to
stories I
failure,
hear
that
of
sort
how them
of-
growing up. It's a lucky they got as far as they did. But
Yeah, I guess
I
creative
think
is part of.
for the most part, we have
Yeah.
in these two communities, we have good parents for the most
Yeah.
part because we're better off financially than most towns, and
Independent
that's always
thinkers,
the
like
key
having,
thing. I think
having a
what
mind of your own. Being able
I think
to
when we come to
your-
this, we have
make your
to
own choices,
try and.
have your own thoughts, have your own opinions.
I want us to reach for something, but I don't want us to reach beyond what's realistic. You know what I'm saying? This being aspirational than this being,
Your why is
somewhere in the stars.
creative.
Like I can just tell, like
Because like Dave said, there's
the last
so
statement
much,
here.
there's so
that's
much
just,
out there, there's
forget
so
it.
much to take
Come on
in.
now, be serious.
There's so much stuff
And
coming
the
out
ensuring our
every
students
day
reach
to
some of their
try
true
to tell us
potential.
how to feel and what to do.
I'm not saying
Because
ensuring perhaps the right word, but
I want a generation
Aspire.
that is able to get through, because who knows how much more there's going to be coming
So-
up in the future.
I challenge that.
Learn that independent thinking,
Why
that
couldn't the
critical
school system
thinking,
get
to
an
be able to
in anything?
I challenge. Why do you want to be?
self-guide themselves.
Why is that important? That's not important to me.
That was
What-
actually my first thought.
What's important to me is how great is the education the kids are getting when they're here. I don't care where I stack up next to the rest of
Guiding
them.
themselves in a direction they want to go and not being, like you said, Paul, not being afraid of failure.
But it's adjusting to the change.
And
No, it
it's,
is.
yeah.
So it's not.
The only thing that is,
So here's my issue with some.
is ever changing, whereas potential is a growth aspect. Like,
Independent, creative, adaptable.
That every
Too many adjectives.
Well,
I
mine
think
keeps growing.
Yeah, I know.
Happy, confident, and creative problem solvers who are adaptable and not afraid of
which is
failure.
why I think goals is almost.
I mean, I keep changing mine all the
Because
time.
what your
Yeah, I think I
initial
agree
goal
with
is
that. The point is that,
whereas potential is more open and
that's
to
my
a
why.
broad
That's what I
variety.
believe we should create. I keep defining
I get hung up on.
what my why.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just, because I choose to just keep going back to like what I saw like when I first went to college. And the difference is, you see what all the different school systems these kids are coming from that don't even know how to write a paper, don't know how to study for a test. Like, there's so many different levels of maturity that go into college.
Important. I just am not sure.
I think there's just so much
Version
more
of Jim's issue.
life skills that are needed.
This school is terrible because it's a dog-eat-dog world out there.
I don't know, it's hard, like
And I
I
like
said,
goals.
Paul, you keep going back to
I
the
like
vision for the statement that's on that sheet, and that's,
Yeah, I keep.
it's hard for me
Broad
to
enough.
not think of it.
Yeah.
Someone of their true potential.
And so true potential, that's such a good, like,
A ranking system. So his connections.
word, and I think that's where we're coming up with all those other terms. Happy, confident, like true potential of all of those adjectives.
But he
The
thought
trouble I
that's
have with this statement
what
is
the right
that
philosophy for school because
it's static.
kids go out in the world where that
It
is
can
the
be
way.
interpreted as static, and that is
I would
you reach your
prefer-
potential, maybe you
a school to have an innovation piece like we do now with the height and the ethics.
Well, and do you want to
Things
be
that we
Teacher
do
Summit
now,
in high school?
we're showing
That
we're
might be
showing the
bad.
country
Right.
that
We all know
we're
how
the
those
leaders.
people turn out.
We were
No, I'm just saying that the adaptability.
identified by the White House as having a leadership in this field. And to me, when you take an ownership of an idea,
I'm laughing only
take it
because
to
I
the
can
national
retire a
level,
lot sooner.
then we are a nationally recognized school. And it wasn't anything I did, it wasn't anything Steve did, but it was an idea from the staff, the students at that time, that they just went forward with this idea. So why couldn't we do this with another idea? And we keep doing this. I don't think having the recognition that we're the best school in New Hampshire, and some of these publications, they rank them. I don't care about those because we know what we do here at the school, and I feel proud of what we do at the school. And we don't need that kind of a ranking system. But I think having an idea that we are recognized for things that we do makes me
Every student will have the academic, creative, problem solving, social, emotional skills, successful college career. The core purpose is to prepare all students to thrive.
The reason why is to get
core values, learning relationships.
Well, I was adding this to yours.
Measure
There's a couple of things. You've created a set of goals and objectives. And I'm saying it's not a static situation. What's
What was their core again? Their core is
in order to be able to continue to
thrive in their future.
successful feeling or whatever, you have to be able to.
They break down 3 core competencies: academic excellence, creative problem solving, and social.
Okay.
That's together. If I craft it.
I'm going to try and start from a different place. So what we believe in, so what I believe.
Clear.
I believe that Amherst is a
Well,
great
the
town
social piece.
of people that
Do you guys agree that that should be in there?
But see, I think we can
work with each
Well,
other.
Emotional, social
Emotional,
need to go.
social, and physical.
Most of the time, what I witness is people are collaborators. Like
Over.
somebody posted on the Facebook page.
Watch
I'm so
some
jealous of
watch
people
some
that don't live in town. I don't get to hand out candy. Wouldn't it be cool if people had like red doors to set them up on green? The very next day, the recreation department had come up with, hey, we're going to have doors in the green for $20 or whatever. You can buy a door and come and decorate it. And it was there.
So
And
I think sometimes you get caught up in.
I think we, I believe in that part of our town, how people can come together to solve a problem, to think creatively, to come up with a way to do something different and innovative. And I think that's what we want.
Because I think it's over definition. It's over, you're trying to,
Collaborative.
you're trying to define someone's life with them.
Problem solving.
That's not our job.
Innovation.
Yeah.
I just see it as addressing
Which to me is another way of saying creative.
Yeah.
learning expectations. Just be able to work.
That's the other thing, we're all coming at it from different angles.
That's why I stopped. I said we can't. I mean, I said I disagree just because.
Right. No, and again, I get it.
Well, I'm trying to. We're on trying to get this to like if somebody I pulled up like
Right.
someone said,
Right.
you
Always,
work for
yeah.
10 years, and somebody said to me, why do you work for? Because our entire mission is we're a pharmaceutical company.
Well, when I was
Our
at the
entire
bank,
mission.
we
Every
had
day,
some of
I know.
our
When I walked out the door,
projects
my
for
thought
the year.
process.
I've been trying to
There
do
was
other
a
things
section
and
of
maybe it's all these
where you
But
had
I'm
to
all focused on that.
think of
I want
problems
people
that you
to
see in the bank and
25, 30,
think of
We believe that our students achieve the highest level of potential.
try to find
I
something
can
that you can
several
make
times
better
I've gone to work
to innovate and do
We
it.
believe that our students achieve the highest level of potential.
It's still there. It's something that is looked for.
I was trying to
what
take
you
what
see, you know, not just so much
you were
the
saying
attitude,
as far
this is the way
Right,
we
so
do it.
that's very, very powerful.
we're competing with less students.
Like I say, somebody's life. Some of the work that I did.
We believe
Can't
that our
really
staff,
look at that as kind of a mission, the way that's. For me, anyway, an extra $20,000.
possibly achieve.
So I think that's what we're after. We're after the why. Why does Sauhegan exist? Why does Sauhegan exist?
It's needed in the school.
Or, yeah, when I say Sauhegan, I mean the Sauhegan
And that's the
schools.
why, and then we can start to say, how we do it.
Everyone
how we
focuses on
get
the end
there.
product, but I don't ever forget.
I know, but I was
Exactly.
kind
Yeah,
of.
why does it exist? Why don't we just tuition our kids to Bedford?
So we believe that our students achieve the highest level of
When this school was
potential.
created, it was for a reason. So why does a school exist aside from other?
I had should, but I got rid of the should.
I feel like we've hit a.
I mean, it's, I don't know, it's hard for me because it's kids and it's education, it's hard. We want our kids to be educated and we want our kids to be bright people.
I'm less concerned about my son.
You need the should in there, is that what you're saying?
Than I am about not being creative and hardworking to figure out how to find out the
And
answer.
maybe when we get to the point
Right.
of writing,
So I
and
really
I
don't
don't
care
think
if
you
he
did decide if
wants
we're
to do
doing
what cares. He wants to find the
Yeah.
answer. He wants to understand
at
how.
least getting answer the question, and then we can see how that fits into.
Same thing with my daughter. So when they leave school, I want them to
But the school itself should be
Innovative,
hard work,
creative
right?
Coming
problem
to
solving.
school
Not necessarily
should be
having
a
all the
passion.
answers,
I
and
think
knowing
that-
all the
I think that's
answers, but
motivated.
being able to
Like my
work
oldest
for
son
it.
Jack gets up every day and prays to God. Hates it.
So
My daughter hates it too.
They all get to that
My
age.
son loves it.
Hates it.
I
And he
love
doesn't,
it.
but he'll tell you, I wish he was here, actually, I probably would have become 1.4. If he was here, you asked him how good the education is, that's very critical. He has told me several times, he's been to this, he just did a shadow engineer just because he
Right,
wants to see.
a little bit
With that
more
comes all the
selling
adjectives.
point with the other
And he said, Dad, I will tell you, especially if I have seen this school
yeah, as
one
opposed
of our
to something
students that do you
like
feel bad about New Hampshire?
how much more.
He's been all the way
down for me, I guess
said
it'd
the
be
teachers
happy
are
and
exceptional and education here is exceptional.
happy and productive.
He used the word exceptional.
I'm not sure if you guys agree with that.
Other things that he hates. So, I mean, so I think that would be tough. But one thing I will tell you that is a desire for Diana, all three of my boys.
Again, it's
is
the
that
why.
they come to school.
Why do I want to be
to
happy?
discover who they are destined to become?
Yeah, why?
You know, that's the first step along the line, discovering who they're destined to become. That they have an ownership stake in that. I didn't have that in high school. I didn't get that when I went to college.
Aaron, I always
around
wanted
that
to
Well,
know.
they give it ours.
I was not a very good student, but I loved going to school.
Oh, we.
And I went because of the social aspect, the sports, and the things that most people wouldn't, really think much about. To me, and that's exact same discussion I had with Morgan the other night, because she's like your son. She hates school. She always says it. And I told her the other night, I'm really tired of hearing you say you hate school. Find something that you're passionate about at school and make that drive you to school. Make that your point of going to school.
Yeah,
So going back to the
or
social,
even the gold and
two more thoughts.
highest outcome.
Why do we have?
Both of those in full potential and highest outcome. I think they're different things. I think they're different
One
things.
is because
With personalized, those are three things I have in,
Okay, good.
different,
almost always boys
but
who just
different,
not
Even if we
not
put
accept
those,
if the
we
sports
can write it,
team,
right, it's
for the,
the,
sports team captain.
Too many words, though.
yeah, yeah,
But
yeah.
So
for a minute.
I,
good.
the three
Not
different
such
ones,
a
I
dry
just,
issue, but it's
it's just right, it
I
says,
think it's too many words, it's too many words.
students,
here,
highest
No, I was getting it mixed up
I
with vision,
support
sorry.
reach their full full potential
That needs to
with
be.
personalized learning.
Come on.
And then however
Happy and
the
productive
wording,
people are
I mean,
able to get
we
back to
believe
their
there's
work
purely social dimension.
I think we're all agreeing with those first
No,
few
no.
words. Stop, stop, based on everything.
We're not,
Or maybe not,
certainly not as a
But-
board,
In a way, I guess I
cracking
think
whip
it's
on the
kind of
coaches to win
close to the
championships.
mission, though.
We don't even care about win-loss records.
What's the vision? You know, what's the vision that they're
I don't know, AMS just had 0 wins with the girls soccer team, so I am starting to care a little bit about that. That shouldn't happen.
Sometimes the parents do.
No, I think that's too, like, I think.
It really develops no one.
Right,
Zero.
yeah, right.
Nothing
Right,
develops.
I don't
Close
feel,
games.
yeah, like, I think
An 0-12 team.
or we believe with personalized learning, you know,
Well,
that
having been a
every
jock.
student should full potential with the highest, and achieve the
So I'm
highest
just saying
outcome possible.
we spend
Yeah.
way too much money on sports.
Achieve there,
And it's really for
yeah,
social.
but there, and I did have.
A big part of it is social.
They're full potential, but I think personalized learning.
It's the Greek, one, the Greek ideal, both the mind and the body, number one. Two, there are lessons you learn if you're involved in sports. I was involved in about 4 different sports. If you're involved in sports, there are life lessons you will get from that that you will not get from any other endeavor in your life. And for that reason alone, it's worth it.
Yeah, I agree with that.
So you're not disagreeing with me so much as expanding on that.
I'm expanding upon. I think there is deep value there actually,
I actually.
and there is pride in your school as well. It comes from a team that wins sometimes.
That would
actually agree with that as well.
The way we produce.
I always tradition for how we get there.
But as long as they're reaching their potential, it's individual.
Creative problems
Individualized learning.
or adapt to it to a rapidly changing world.
So it says something like
Do you feel
personalized learning.
that covers, let's start with first with you, use and development